My name's Eric Parker. I was a longtime board member at Homes for the Brave. I'm now on the advisory board, and I'm going to be your host this morning. We started these last year because it occurred to us that one of the big things we missed out on as we, all changed our lives with the pandemic was our interaction with some of our big supporters and people who kept this organization running. And we had always loved having those visits to the house and having special events and having people in and fundraisers and seeing you all face to face and telling you the exciting news that was changing and things that were constantly on the move for Homes for the Brave. And I think we have a lot to share this morning. And as we looked at it as a board and as the staff talked about it, we felt that we were really missing out on being able to share with you the exciting things we were doing and the big strides we were making and helping our homeless veterans and others who need help. So we came up with this idea, and obviously you can see a bunch of little boxes on your screen, probably depending on how you have the Zoom set up, but we're also recording this. So for those who are busy, we all have crazy schedules these days. For people who are unable to be here, we'll have it recorded and we can share everybody's thoughts that way. Just a couple things before we get going. I want to introduce everybody from Homes for the Brave who's on the call. Most of you probably know Vince Santilli, our CEO. Also here, Maria Satterwhite-Purpura, she's the Chief Operating Officer. Dr. Stephanie Lynham, our Chief Clinical Officer. We also have a couple of our board members with us today, Caitlin Genovese, who helped set this all up. Chris Kowalczyk is here as well, and a lot of our great supporters. So we appreciate all of you guys being here. We will have some question and answer ability once we kind of get through our initial report from Vince. So if you have a question, if there's something that pops in your head, something you'd like to know, you can always put it in the chat box. I will do my best to monitor that if anything comes in, but we can also just go the old fashioned way. You can raise your hand or wave or shout out, and we'll accept questions that way too. So that's who's here today. We want to just bring you up to date on what's happening, and we think a lot of pretty exciting things are happening. So I'm going to turn it over to Vince at this point. And Vince, why don't you tell us what's been happening while we've unfortunately had to have the doors a little bit shuttered, and what's coming up?
Good morning, everybody. Thank you so much, Eric. And, we've continued to have our challenges navigating through the pandemic, and, COVID protocols theoretically are still in place for us and have to be per executive order and so forth. And that affects everything we do. Running of groups, it affects serving of meals, it affects a number of different steps that are taken as far as PPE and sanitizing and all of those things. Yet at the same time, I think, as we look back at the last year, we've been able to successfully navigate that, and we've really had a number of, great events and been able to add to our base of supporters. Even some from other parts of Connecticut, even some from outside Connecticut, New Jersey, Colorado, etc. We've had to take some of our events and even add a virtual component to them. So our comedy night, which this year's will be in a couple of weeks, in 3 weeks on April 8th. And, so you'll not only be able to see it here and have a wonderful meal, but you'll be able to actually, folks in Florida, so folks on this call right now will be able to see the comedy night streamed in Florida and enjoy it that way and still support us. We've had some awesome additions to our clinical team. And really, when you think about that, we're just so blessed and so fortunate. We've actually added, and typically male social workers are not that common. We've had the opportunity to add 3 young men to our clinical team, all of whom are veterans, 2 of whom are combat veterans, 2 of whom speak Spanish. And this just, they understand our residents and our veterans and what they've been through and what they've encountered. And that is just so valuable to us and to our residents. So we're just I pinch myself when I look at the work they do and how deeply they care. And so, those are all things that I think from a big picture perspective, has us continuing to roll here at Homes for the Brave. Some things have happened in just the last few months, towards the end of 2021. First off, we got approached by the VA to take a look at a couple of properties in West Haven that had been previously operated by an out-of-state operator. And so we took a look and we dipped our toe in the water, and we are now accepting next week veterans at one of those two houses. They total 14 beds, one 8 beds, one 6 beds. And so we will now be, in addition to our 3 facilities in Bridgeport, we will have our 2 houses in West Haven. They're both for male veterans. Both are within blocks of the VA Medical Center, so they should be very popular destinations for veterans that are receiving, whether it be medical or mental health treatment at the VA. And then the other big news from our perspective is that we are opening an annex, and we just got the keys the other day, and we're getting it furnished and ready. And we will have an annex here in downtown Bridgeport at 1 Lafayette Square, which is on Fairfield Avenue. And we're hiring a therapist. We will have case management. We will have individual and group therapy. We will have perhaps even yoga class and other service center offerings there. This will enable us to expand both our clinical program and our service center to that location, because we're so tight in this building, those of you who have been there. And I know Maria and Steph will be able to give you further details on those. At our annex, by the way, we're even going to have an emergency food pantry. So we just could not be more excited about that. That is a game changer. Not only will we be able to continue to serve veterans, but at our annex, we'll also be able to serve family members, spouses, children of veterans, which typically, this is for the first time in our history, we've been able to do that. So that's all I have at the moment, but I think that's a lot.
I was just going to say the same thing. That's all you have, Vince. But boy, that's a heck of a lot for a 3-minute presentation. I want to break down some of those things. And Stephanie, I want to start with you. Vince was just talking excitedly about the annex and how it's a game changer, he called it. With your day-to-day dealings with some of the folks that Homes for the Brave is able to help, how do you think it will impact our service to veterans?
I think it will really help us expand what we're able to offer. So right now we are in the process of reaching out to other agencies that serve veterans in the greater Bridgeport area to get an up-to-date view on what they're currently offering, so that as we design our services, we can help fill those gaps in services in the Bridgeport area, so we can work in collaboration with other agencies. And as a whole, we can provide that, that holistic approach to really helping people get back on their feet, living successfully in their homes, and reconnecting with the community. One of the things that we will probably really focus on that not a lot of places do right now is building of community and socialization. So as a result of things in people's lives, they tend to be isolated from family, friends, maybe because of past drug use or criminal backgrounds. And isolation is a huge risk factor for homelessness in the future, and also unstable employment and relapse. And so one of the things that we will try to offer is socialization opportunities and a community building, so that people can build those social supports to help protect against relapse and homelessness in the future.
And I think one thing that anyone who's taken a tour, and many of our big supporters are on the call today, knows space is at a premium
Yes.
in that building. And so to be able to take the good works that are done there and sort of expand that footprint for sure makes it easier on everyone. Maria, I want to ask you about expansion too, but in a different sense, that, here's an organization that's been doing good work for a couple of decades, and all of a sudden the footprint of the residential part of the program is going to expand. I know from being part of some of the conversations, that's a big move, but it certainly has got to be good that the VA, when they want something done right, they came to Homes for the Brave.
Well, I mean, I think that, the last thing you said is actually something we're really grateful for, and that, they know us. We've been working with them well for 20 years now. And so the 2 houses that we are opening in West Haven, those programs are very similar to our Homes for the Brave men's program here, but they're geared more toward veterans that are a little bit more independent. Everybody gets their own room there. They're kind of on their own for meals, and we certainly help them with food resources, but here we cater meals and we serve them. They're also just in general a little bit more independent. We are going to be offering the same services that we offer here as far as vocational training. If they are interested in clinical services, we can certainly refer them to our clinical program, just like the others. I do know that because those houses are so close to the VA, there are a lot of veterans that really want to be in that area. And it's really good for us to be able to kind of expand closer to the VA and strengthen those ties, because we work very closely with both the homeless team at the VA and then also, mental health clinicians at the VA, substance use clinicians at the VA, the medical folks at the VA. And so anything we can do to strengthen those ties is really good for us, and it's really good for the veterans we serve. So.
And certainly with a few more beds, I mean, you have your finger on the pulse of this. Despite all the hard work so many people have done, the need is there, right?
Absolutely. Well, and there are a lot of really great initiatives that are happening nationwide to help with permanent housing for veterans, like the VASH program in Connecticut, if any of you guys are familiar with that. But it takes a little while for once people who are experiencing homelessness are assigned a VASH voucher, it takes them a while to find an apartment that's appropriate for them. And frankly, right now, the housing market is brutal. And I mean, people were talking before about, purchasing property. But, our case managers are really facing uphill battles with most of the veterans we serve, trying to get them into safe, affordable housing. Right now, almost nothing is affordable, and very few landlords are able to be flexible or willing to be flexible after the pandemic. And so, that's just the reality of the situation. All we can really do is work with veterans the best we can. But what I think that means is there will always be a need for a safe space for people to work on gaining that permanent housing and, work on the skills that they need to maintain that housing afterwards. We're also providing, and Vince didn't mention this, it's something we started doing a couple of years ago. We also provide follow-up case management services for a lot of folks who leave here and go to permanent housing and don't have connections to other programs. So that's been really helpful too.
Well, those are some of the things that, we're excited about expanding outside the walls. But Vince, I know one of the things inside the facility is those stairs and and climbing people up and down those stairs. And you have some exciting updates on that as well. And don't forget to unmute yourself, Vince. You're on mute.
Absolutely, Eric. And as you know, we have a basement and then 3 floors, and seeing some of our veterans trying to navigate up those stairs, it's just a little concerning. And so we've been able to secure, it's close to a $2 million project in order to get an elevator, because the building is 115 years old. The cornerstone says 1907. So we need to get an elevator in here. Also, many of our veterans are receiving telehealth appointments and so forth. And so when all of our rooms currently are doubles, triples, and quads, it's very difficult to do that in a private setting. And then all of our rooms right now do not have their own restrooms. And so this project enables us to put 12 rooms in a separate wing, each with their own restroom for telehealth purposes, and put an elevator in the building. And so we have 600,000 in funding already secured, and our Bridgeport delegation is moving for the balance of that project, is putting it on the agenda. And so, we're being pretty much assured that it's got a very good chance of flying this spring up in Hartford when the bonding committee meets and goes through their iterations. So that is something that, again, we talk about the annex being a game changer, but this is something that, when you look at the demographics of the veterans that we serve, this will be critically important. Without an elevator in this building, everything will be just extremely difficult to continue to put forth.
And I know a lot of people will be watching that closely. Like you said, great help from the Bridgeport delegation on that. Remember, if anyone has a question, something you've thought of, feel free to pop into the chat box. I've got it open here, so I should see it. Stephanie, I want to ask another question of you. In dealing with a lot of the Homes for the Brave clientele and helping them get back on their feet, what are you seeing right now as barriers to both stable employment and stable housing?
Yeah, Maria actually mentioned a couple of them, so I'll just build on that. For both employment and for housing, one of the biggest barriers we see are either employers or landlords willing to give our residents a second chance. So a lot of them have something in their background, whether it's some criminal charges, maybe they've done some time in jail or prison, or they don't have the greatest credit. And so when they go to apply to jobs and and apply for housing with landlords, instead of looking at how they're doing currently, what are the supports they have in place, what is the work they've done to remedy those things, their backgrounds are held against them in an unfair way that we don't see in the same for individuals that have a lot of money and resources. So I'm sure we can all right now think of a few famous individuals that have a lot of money that have committed maybe some white collar crimes and things, but they seem to be able to get back out there. People accept them back into society. They get employment. They don't have problems getting housing. Our folks, unfortunately, don't have those same resources and face that discrimination. And so even when they have done all the hard work and they do everything that we're asking of them, we still need employers and landlords to look at their current state and give them a chance to show them how things have been different than their past. And that's probably the biggest barrier we see, that our case managers and our employment specialists work really hard to work around.
Thank you, Steph. I'm looking at some of the folks, who were on the call here, Vince, and I know these are some of the supporters that we've counted on over the years to help Homes for the Brave. And I think just as we, wrap up, we've given the update. And as I said, we're going to post this recording online so that anyone who wasn't able to join us today can get the update just like you guys did. But tell us, how can people help? I mean, what's the current need? If someone's watching this today, what are you hoping that they'll do to help us out?
Well, first off, Eric, we have to thank the folks on the call, because without their support, it would be impossible for us to be where we are and talking about the exciting things that we're talking about. And, there's so many ways to continue to obviously support us, whether it be financially, whether it be attending our events, whether it be lending their expertise now that we've reopened the house this month and are doing groups again. So our job prep workshops, at our life skills seminars on Thursday afternoons to come in and talk about whether it be nutrition, wellness, daily living skills, financial literacy. And those are things that it's great for our residents to hear from people from the outside. They're used to dealing with us and our case managers all the time. So when a new face comes in, boy, they get some wonderful attention. And so, the Thursday afternoons just become, I think a real learning experience, both for the folks coming in as well as for our veterans that reside with us. So there are so many ways. Folks have donated even, furniture to our houses in West Haven and some of the other things that we've been, working on. And so there's just room on the team for everybody in so many ways. So some folks, when they come into the house, that's when the light goes on and they get an idea, wow, they could really use a program that does this or that. And we're always open and receptive to those ideas and those thoughts.
All right. Well, thank you. I know everyone who's dealt with Homes for the Brave knows it's not hard to get a hold of Vince Santilli. And if you maybe just think his name, he might get a hold of you. So if you do have an ability to help, if you want to, do more as Homes for the Brave goes through this big expansion, feel free to reach out to Vince, of course, or any of the board members. And I know everyone has great ideas. So I don't see any questions in the chat box. Just a reminder, if you want to get together in person, the comedy night is April 8th. The golf classics coming up May 23rd. Information on both of those is on homesforthebrave.org. You can find the contact information there as well. Does anybody have a question before I say goodbye?
I do, Eric. Hi. And just as an FYI, the bank blocks the chat, so I don't have the ability to enter a question. But so first of all, hello, everybody. And I have to say hello to Karen, who I have not seen. And, I feel like it's people's old home day with me, Karen, and Vince. So good to see you, Karen. Karen and I work together. Vince and I work together back in our People's United days. And, it's a nice warm feeling to see them both. My question is an easy one, Vince. I'm very impressed with the fact that the group you're coming out of this massive COVID challenge that so many nonprofits, have struggled to manage through, rightfully so. It's just been something we, in our lifetime, we've never seen. And not only are you coming through thriving, but actually expanding, which is phenomenal. I'm wondering if there is a lesson learned that you could share, and I would like to share it with other nonprofit groups, that something that you learned dealing with the pandemic that allowed you to continue to be successful and grow as you're doing.
Well, first off, Terry, thanks so much for being with us this morning, and you and Wells Fargo Foundation have been just an absolute blessing to us. And I guess the one word that comes to my mind when you ask me that question is just focus. So there's so many things happening, and yet we've tried to do throughout the pandemic and beyond, obviously, and as we hopefully emerge from it, is focusing on our veterans. What do they need? What are they going through? What have they going through? How can we help them? So I try not to worry. There's millions of other things we can worry about, but I think if you start with that question and that on the top of your mind, then you get all kinds of ideas. Then it's just a matter of trying to, make those things come to fruition and getting people like so many of you that are on the call helping us do that. So I think it all just comes back to focus, and that's the way we do it. And I don't know, that may not be the best answer, but that's the only one I can provide you this morning.
That's a great answer. Thank you, Vince.
Thank you, Vincent. Great question, Terry. Anybody else have a question before we say goodbye?
I could
All
just,
right.
oh, sorry, Karen, go ahead.
Oh, if you don't mind, it's good to see everybody. And oh, hang on. Can you guys hear me?
Yeah.
Okay, good. I'm both on my cell phone. My computer audio doesn't usually work very well. So it's really good to see everybody. Good morning, Vince, Terry. Really good to see you this morning as well. And congratulations on all that you're accomplishing with the expansion. I couldn't agree with Terry more in terms of where the organization is today. Certainly a lot of expansion efforts that are happening with the new homes and the new annex. What are some of the capacity building needs that the organization has? Do you need additional staffing? What are some of those additional needs around sort of not only the funding needs, but kind of how we can leverage our resources at the bank as well?
Go ahead, Maria.
I will say something. One of the most challenging things that we're facing with so many locations is our IT needs are expanding, and then along with that, our need for a more centralized electronic record system, and that's something that we've been wanting to do for a while, but now it's becoming something that's pretty much become essential, and so that's significant cost for us. And the other thing, and I think this is true in nonprofit as well as other circles, is it's really tough to find people to hire right now who are qualified to do what we'd like to do. And so it's been challenging for us to fill the positions because we're picky, and we should be picky. So that's been really challenging. I'm not sure how much you guys can help with that, unless you happen to know someone who's a spectacular right now we're hiring a case manager, a full-time clinician, and we're looking for a peer support specialist. So if you know any of those folks, please pass them along.
In terms of just on top of that, I'll just add that one of the other things that we're focusing on is trying to build our staff wellness resources as well. We all stayed and had to, because of the nature of our work, in coming into the office during the pandemic, and with the significant staff turnover and just all the effects that we've seen of that, really trying to make sure that our staff are well and we're taking care of them so they can continue to do this good work. And so in terms of if there's any ideas or support in that area too, that is another thing that we're taking on.
Yeah, I don't know if any of you guys in your businesses have wellness plans, but if you have those and could maybe send the details to us so that we at least have some ideas about what other folks are doing. I asked this of a lot of my friends and I got some great feedback, a lot of which is like stuff that's way outside of our price range, but not all of it is. And so it's really helpful for us to know, kind of how you're handling it as well.
Well, that's just the kind of thing that the kind of connections we hope to have this morning. So great question, Karen. And hopefully if anyone can help, reach out to Vince or Maria or Stephanie with that information and send along resumes as well. We're hiring. So thank you all very much for being with us this morning. We hope we'll hear from you with any follow-up questions that you have, and maybe we'll see you at an event soon and back at the Homes for the Brave house, one of the houses, once things open back up. So thank you all very much for being with us. Have a great rest of your day.
Thanks so much, everybody.
Thank you.